Hello and welcome. My name is Michelle with Phoenix Flow Art. Please like, subscribe, and comment. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad to have you here. So back in February, I was doing a heart series with acrylic paint. Most of them were Dutch pours, but I also took a chance, do something different. I actually did a resin piece on this heart, and I just never got around to showing you it. So today that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the piece that I did back in February. I tend to do geode artwork. So here are some of the pieces that I have done. So I wanted to take some of those features or principles from doing geode artwork and apply it to this wooden heart. So this wooden heart has been prepped and the bottom has been taped already. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to be simple. So today I'm going to use resin, KRS resin. I'm going to use Pearlex, 2 different colors of Pearlex. As well, I'm going to create some gold lines. We're going to use some stones, amethyst, and a resin stone that I created in a mold to create our final piece. So on day 1, I'm ready to get started on the artwork. So I've already prepped it. I know my colors, so it's time to go. On day 1, I focus on the texture points. Your texture points are the pieces of stone that you're going to put on your artwork. So I've already mixed my resin. I added a little bit of interference violet to the cup. And the reason why I did that is because my centerpiece that I'm going to put on here is clear. So I thought it'd be pretty nice if I put a little bit of interference violet down, then put my texture points on top of it. So when the light hits it, you won't see, you'll see the sparkle or the color of the interference violet through the piece. So this piece is a resin piece that I created in a mold. It's a resin piece of quartz, a piece of quartz points. So around that quartz, I'm going to put crushed glass. It's a purple color or lavender color. I put that circle of resin down to make sure that my stones stay in place. Now these are actual amethysts. So sometimes people use a glue gun or something to balance. They usually use a glue gun or something to balance their pieces of stone. But my stones are pretty round, close to the surface, so I didn't worry about that. I just put resin on the board, and therefore I'm going to sit them in the resin. Sometimes it's a challenge getting your pieces where you want them to be, especially when you have gloves on. And I have like 7 pieces of amethyst that I'm going to put around that centerpiece. Resin is so expensive, so I make sure I always have a mold handy. So if I have any extra resin, I pour it in the mold. And then I use that hardened piece out of the mold on a piece of artwork in the future. Now I'm going to add some clear resin to around the centerpiece. So it's the clear resin is going in between the stones, underneath the stones, Again, you have to make sure you have enough resin and resins on each stone or it will not adhere. Now I'm adding crushed glass around my centerpiece to help stabilize it. I'll push that additional crushed glass into the stones, into my center, so that it's nice and compact. I will drizzle some clear resin over the crushed glass I just put down, because I'm going to add some violet glitter glass on top of that. Now this is my glitter glass. So I'm adding a little bit more clear resin to make sure it adheres to glitter glass. And I am going to put some Luxe powders on now. The color is Dragonfly, which is a purple color, just to give it some more bling. So the next morning, my artwork is completely dry. I flip it over, give it a good shakedown. Start banging on the wood to make sure any loose stones or stones that are not properly adhered through that resin fall off. The last thing I want to do is give someone a piece of art, and when I hand it to them, the stones start falling off or the glass starts falling off or popping off. So I make sure that everything is secured. One way I do that is run my hand across it. Don't cut yourself though. And I bang on the back of it to make sure. So I'm mixing my resin. I'm going to use two different colors today. I'm going to use Reflex Violet by Reflex and a gray lavender, also by Reflex. So you mix your resin, 50% hardener, 50% resin, and then you put the Reflex in it. Then you stir that up and make sure that has all dissolved, all those micas, all those pigments have dissolved in that resin before you lay any resin down. So here I'm putting a clear coat on it, on my piece first. It's just helping for the resin to move. So I just put a thin coat of resin on the piece before I actually pour the resin on it. So here I am laying down my Reflex Violet. Putting it on both sides. And then in between, I'm going to sandwich the gray lavender between them. Spread the resin out, make sure it gets to the edges. And I spray painted my sides purple because when the resin runs down the sides, it gets lighter, and I wanted it to stay a purple color. So I spray painted my board, the edges of them, a purple before I started. And this is the gray lavender. Again, let me reiterate, this is my process and how I do it. You're gonna have to do it the way that you feel comfortable. There's no wrong way, no right way to do it. It's just really however you feel comfortable doing it. Some people will do the entire piece in a day. I just prefer to break mine out over several days. So I'm constantly working on multiple pieces of artwork at a time. Because if I do the stones on this one, I might be resining something on another one. I might be doing Dutch pull on another piece. So I always have multiple pieces of artwork going at the same time. So when you're dealing with the resin, you most of the times, not always, most of the times you use a heat gun versus a torch. The heat gun warms up the resin better. It busts all the bubbles, and it actually moves the resin. And usually you want to move the resin. With a torch, you can bust the bubbles, but it doesn't allow you really to move the resin or push that resin around. By pushing the resin around with the heat gun, it enabled me to soften the line between the purples and blend it more. Since I'm satisfied with the composition, I'll let it dry overnight. So the next morning I wake up and my piece is dry. I check it out and I decide that I'm going to add some gold accents. So when you put resin on top of resin, you should take 400 grit sandpaper and go over over the artwork. It's going to make fine lines in it. And what that does is help the new resin interlock with the old resin. So when they dry, you have a better seal and it's not going to ever come apart. So I took 400 grit sandpaper and went over my piece, created all these little lines, which is fine. Now I'm looking at where I want to add my gold accents. So I'm going to start with, I got this Rust-Oleum gold accent, and I'm going to go around the stones. Before I do that, I need to wipe off any dust that is on the piece from the sandpaper. Make sure you don't get any fibers in the stones. And if you do, pull them out before you resin again. So I just take a paintbrush and go in, add a little bit of gold to the stones. So I'm very happy with my centerpiece now. I think the gold accent helped it out a lot. I still think it's missing something, so I'll probably add more gold to it. So I'm trying to decide where to add the gold lines. So I'm using Mixtion Relief by Pebeo. And what it's going to do is it's going to go on white. And when it's ready to put the foil or gold leaf on it, it will turn clear. So I'm creating my lines now with the Mixtion Relief. And with these geodes or mixed media pieces, there is no wrong or right way. It's just however you feel or whatever you like. Some people like more bling, some people like less. So, like I said, I just felt like it needed a little something. However, I could have left it as it is. So again, these lines go on white, but when you're ready to put the foil on or the gold leaf, it will be clear. So you just have to let it sit. And it usually takes hours. This sat overnight. When I went to bed, it was probably about 75% clear. But some places with a little thicker lines, it had not cleared yet. So when I make my lines, I make sure I also continue that line down the side. You don't have to make gold leaf lines. You can use acrylic pens to make your lines. I've done that. I've also used glitter lines. So, and I've done 2 of those at least in one piece to mix it up. One acrylic line and glitter lines, or acrylic lines and gold leaf lines, just to give it more texture. But in this piece, it's going to be all gold leaf lines. I'm continuing that line down this side. So that's all the lines I'm going to put on it. And again, I'm going to let that sit overnight until it clears. Or if it was to clear in 2 or 3 hours, I can move on to the next process. So the next morning I wake up, my lines are nice and clear. So I'm gonna get ready and put my gold leaf on. I found a trick that if you put powder on the surface, the gold leaf won't stick. Because even though it doesn't have the mix-in on it, sometimes the gold leaf sticks to the surface and makes it really hard to get off, or it kind of tears up. So if you put powder, and I have this little pouch of powder, put that on your surface, tap that on your surface, and the gold leaf won't stick. Do not get the powder on the mixed in though. So here I'm laying the gold leaf down on the clear places that I have the mixed in lines, and I'm making sure I'm using the end of my tip to go down the side of the gold leaf so that the gold leaf actually attaches to the side of the mixed in also. So run your finger across the top, run your finger or use a tool to run it against the side of the mixed in, and then the gold leaf will stay nice and firm. And I'm going to do that to all the lines that I drew on the previous day. And gold leafing is a messy process when you actually brush it off. So here I'm putting my final coat of resin on this piece, my clear coat. So I'm just going to pour the resin on, smooth it out, bust all the bubbles, and then let it sit for 24 hours. And then we'll be good to go. And I thank you for watching this long video, but here's the final results. Let me know what you think.